So, everyone, I'd love to welcome you today to our outdoor shooting of Awakening Health Show. I think the ducks are starting to show up for us. This is our backyard, and we have this lovely spring-fed creek that runs all year long. It never goes dry, and people swim, fish, kayak. The birds come fishing, and it's really quite lovely out here. And this is, for many in Austin, where I am, the beginnings of a season where they are dealing with pollen from the cedar trees. So a lot of people are starting to protect themselves from that type of pollen. And then this is also flu season for many people. So we're going to talk about things that you can do that are amazingly beneficial for you, things that will get rid of symptoms really fast. A little anecdotal piece. One of my friends called me after he had gone to the hospital for bronchitis, and I said, "Why didn't you call me before you went?" But when he got back, I gave him this wonderful old grandmother's treatment, and he said within half an hour he was 50% better. So I'd love to share that with all of you today. And this is when you're experiencing really strong congestion in the lung area. And it's so simple. Almost all of us have towels at home and access to cold water. So what you do is you take one towel and you dip it in cold water and you wring it out, but you leave plenty of moisture in it. And then you take another towel, a larger one, and place it on top. And then cover yourself up in a bunch of blankets and lay down for at least an hour. And many people go to sleep this way. The towels tend to get a lot drier, and it just pulls the congestion right out of the lungs. It's quite amazing. I know it sounds weird and strange, and how would it work? But it does. The other thing that I love to recommend to any young mother or any mothers who have children who tend to have a snotty nose or sinus infections or, little coughs. If you start the children with cotton socks and wool socks, and you take the cotton socks just like you did the towel, this time you do dip it in cold water, wring it out, and then place it on their feet. And then put a pair of wool socks on top just before they go to bed. And in the morning, you'll find that their feet are dry, the socks are dry, and their congestion is gone. It works so much faster with children than it does on adults. But this is a wonderful preventative thing that we all can do now to help protect our respiratory systems from any problems with flu or anything of that nature, even if you tend to get bronchitis every fall and winter, or pneumonia or anything like that. This is a wonderful support by helping to create circulation in your body. So once again, we call that particular one warming socks, and the other we're doing warming chest. But you can do something just very similar to the warming socks on the chest, where you take a cotton t-shirt and put the t-shirt in cold water, wring it out, put that on, and then place a wool sweater on top and go to sleep. At the same time doing the feet. And many people find that that is just amazing for headaches, for sinus infections, preventing sinus infections when you get them every year, and that sort of thing. Now, there's another whole realm that also costs you nothing, that is amazingly supportive and beneficial to prevent any types of problems with the respiratory system and the sinus system. And that comes from the wisdom of some Russian people, Dr. Buteyko in particular, who was able to, through a breathing technique that seems counterintuitive, to help people completely clear up asthma, and typically in as little as 10 minutes clear up a congestion in the nose. So the way to check and see if you have congestion in your nose is to just cover one nostril and breathe in, And if you can breathe in just fine, that's not a problem for you. And then you can try the other one. And if you have congestion in one or the other, you'll know, or in both. The way that you clear that is very simple. You basically take a breath, really a gentle, deep breath, and the idea is that you want your diaphragm to move. So you can place your hands on your diaphragm. And this kind of deep breathing is not the kind of breathing where you are really pushing hard to breathe. You want the breathing to be very gentle, very natural, very light. So you're not doing kinds of stuff, but you don't even want to hear it. But you do want to see this move. Quite a difference from. Okay, so very gentle. You don't hear it. And then at the end of the exhale, you want to take your fingers and cover your nose, or squeeze your nose, and hold your breath for as long as you can. And while you do that, you either want to sway back and forth, or back and forward, until it's really hard to hold your breath any longer. And once that happens, you stop, and you let your breathing come to normal for about a minute, and you just relax. And I'm not going to take a full minute now, just so I can demonstrate this for you, but you do want to take a full minute. And then once again, you breathe in gently. See my diaphragm smoothing. Exhale gently. And then hold your nose. And if you were standing up, you could walk. Sway back and forth. And you keep doing this until you have no more ability to hold without great discomfort. And you do this 5 or 6 times. After you get done, you check once again. And I noticed a huge difference, and I didn't even feel congested, but I heard nothing, no junk in my airways. So this is a very wonderful thing to do before you go to bed, or in the morning when you first get up, or any time that you notice that you're congested. Another thing to know about this Bucheco breathing, the whole idea with this is that we're supporting you in breathing through your nose, never through your mouth. And fortunately, unfortunately, when we talk, we're using our mouth a lot more than just our nose when we breathe. But for the most part, we want our focus to be on breathing through our nose. And if you happen to be someone who has a challenge with snoring or with sleep apnea, you can take paper tape, which is what I use, and I place it on my mouth, and I use that to go to sleep with, so that I am able to breathe only through my nose through the night, and that prevents us from snoring. There's also something called little breathe right strips that tend to widen this area in here, and it also is very helpful with supporting the sinuses. So if you find that the tape is not enough, you can do this with the little breathe right strips and let them help you. Oftentimes when people are really anxious and you want to take care of their anxiety, you could take a paper bag and have them breathe into the paper bag and breathe the air from the paper bag. By doing that, you're actually breathing in more carbon dioxide. And it's fascinating because when we breathe in carbon dioxide, it forces the hemoglobin to take that carbon dioxide and make oxygen with it. And that's why it's such an amazing thing to actually focus on increasing our carbon dioxide levels when we're breathing, rather than trying to get more oxygen into the system. So we found that by doing this, so many people have been able to, first of all, get rid of their anxiety by working with this type of breathing, and there are specific things that one can do. And there's a lovely teacher from Ireland, and he has a website called buteyko.clinic.com. And on there are all of his books and incredible research for different things, different ailments, like working with asthma, like working with anxiety, like working with sleep issues. And the Buteyko method has been greatly studied for all of these. But it's also been studied for autoimmune disease and for cancer. And if you've watched my previous video on deuterium depletion, you'll see why that works. Because when we breathe in through the nose like this, we are supporting the mitochondria, and when we do that, we are actually supporting the body in producing its own oxygen and making its own mitochondrial water. So the Buteyko people, just like the folks who are involved with the deep research on deuterium, have also encouraged people to support their carbon dioxide levels with breathing dry air rather than humidified air, and not drinking too much water, and eating more high quality fats, which support this carbon dioxide process as well as the deuterium depletion process. And just a quick little note is that deuterium is heavy hydrogen, and it's challenging to the mitochondria, whose job it is to produce metabolic water that allows for the healthy production of ATP, which is energy to our bodies. And I go into much more detail about that in the deuterium depletion YouTube, so I encourage you to go there and take a look at how deuterium depletion can be a window through which you look at the whole world and your level of health. And anything that increases deuterium depletion after you've become an adult is an incredibly beneficial way of supporting longevity and reduction of illness, chronic problems, and supporting every aspect of your body's health. So this breathing has profound effects, as well as, of course, helping us with what we're focused on today, which is flu prevention and allergy support, and helping you to get rid of the need to have allergies altogether. The other thing I wanted to tell you is so many people are so focused on having an alkaline diet. And what the research shows is that breathing through the nose and having a high, in this gentle way, not a forced way, but breathing through the nose in this gentle way increases our alkalinity 75% more effectively than changing your diet to eat what people call an alkalinizing diet. And we've had discussions about how that's not necessarily the case from eating, but I find it quite fascinating that the acidity and alkalization of the blood is more so affected by breathing than it is by our food. So I want to encourage you about that. Now, the next thing is, I like to have people gather a wee bit of pollen from the juniper trees. If you happen to be somebody who has, or cedar trees, however you want to call it, who has a cedar allergy to the cedar pollen. And typically you start this a year before, but you can make a homeopathic remedy of the cedar pollen. And we've discussed how you make homeopathic remedies in previous videos, but what you do is very simple. You take 1 part of pollen and add, in this case, I would say 10 parts of alcohol. So it might be potato vodka, for instance, and tap that 10 times. And then you would take 1 drop from that and place it into a second bottle and add 9 drops of alcohol and tap that 10 times, and that'll become what we call a 2x of the cedar. And then you take 1 drop from that second bottle, and you could pour out the first one and put that into the first bottle, and that will become now number 3, and add 9 drops of alcohol and keep doing that until you get to at least a 6x, because we're doing tens. You could always do this with 99 drops, and that would make a C potency. But I think an X potency would be very effective since we're just physically working with the cedar here. And a 6x might be a really good place to start, or even a 5x to start this process and see if taking a few drops of that daily, about a week before cedar is due to hit, or even a month before cedar is due to hit, so you can do that right now, can be very helpful. And there are already made up remedies like this. I have some in my pharmacy, but you can also make your own, which wouldn't cost you hardly anything but the bottles and the vodka. So that's a little hack for you about working with cedar allergies. The biggest deal is supporting the health of your digestive system, because an allergy is really an indication that there's something going on with our digestive system. And I'm going to share one more homeopathic thing, and then what I want to do is talk to you a bit about the emotions behind allergies. So what we can do for protecting ourselves from the flu, which already seems to be showing up here in Austin, is I have a particular remedy that was made from 12 of the most virulent flus that ever hit the world. And I've been using it for over 30 years with my patients. And it is the rarest thing if anyone ever gets the flu when they take this. And you just take 1 pellet of this a week. And I've used it for whole classrooms of children. I've used it in offices where I used to consult, and all of the people working in the office took it, and nobody ever got the flu. So that's a very wonderful thing to do. Another wonderful thing is a cell salt called ferrum phosphoricum. And ferrum phosphoricum typically comes in a 6X. I have a type that's made without any lactose. Almost all your homeopathic remedies are made with lactose, and this is made with, let's see here, I think it's a sucrose. So it doesn't have the effects for people who have a very serious allergy to dairy. But otherwise, if you don't have any dairy issues, you can just buy them at the health food store. There's numerous brands. And just start taking 3 of these sweet little pellets 3 times a day, and that can be very preventative from the flu. And if that's not the case, that you have it already and you've taken it for a while, you can always take homeopathic aconite as soon as it hits, or something called oxalicoccinum. I don't know if you can get the aconite in most health food stores, but you might be able to from Boiron. I like to use a higher potency than you can buy in the health food store, but you could still use a 6C if that's what they have, and or 200C if you can get that, or 30C. And you might need to take it a few times a day, and typically that'll knock it out in 24 hours. The same with oxalicoccinum, but the key is you have to catch it immediately in order for these things to work. Don't forget that you can start out with that chest support and the feet support. And what we've talked about for the feet can also be incredibly helpful for headaches, as is coffee enemas. And you probably know that I have done videos on coffee enemas, and doing a coffee enema can be amazing if you have a headache at the same time. There are specific homeopathic remedies I use a lot of for people. If you have a sinus infection, I find that Cali Bic is amazing. It's potassium bichromate, and that will oftentimes just knock the sinus headache out when you have a yellow, sticky kind of a mucus immediately. And typically, that one also has pain in the eyebrows if you were to press on them, or just a pain in any, like given one little spot that's really strong. That's a sign for Cali Bic. If you have a watery, runny nose and watery, runny eyes, and you sneeze, homeopathic onion called Allium cepa is amazing, because those are the symptoms of what happens to many people when they cut an onion. So I think that gives you a few ideas of what you can do. There's always many more, but these are some things that you can do that are very inexpensive and can help to take care of you and your family if a flu were to hit. And the most important thing, as far as I'm concerned, is find a way to get yourself out in the sunlight as much as possible. It's pretty funny in our house because if we're not with patients who can go outside at the moment, if we see the sun come out, we grab a book or something and we just go outside and put down a towel and catch as much sun as we can. We're chasing it all day long. Right now it's starting to disappear, but we decided we'd try and catch a little bit at least of the fresh air. And our yard is pretty much devoid of the sun in the back at this point, but I wanted to share the creek with you all. So one other little piece for you that's important to know is that allergies have so much to do with separation issues. And separation issues and our ability to digest life. And the first nourishment that we get inside the womb comes from our mother, and outside of the womb, hopefully, from nursing. And these issues with our mothers, where there's something that happened that we are really upset about, but deep down we really love her, and we can't really get in touch with that issue, tends to be the primary thing that's going on for us around the areas of allergies. So if you wanted to give it a call and do a little consult, we could help you to identify what that specific issue is. And it's amazing how people with really serious types of allergies, even to things like allergies to the sun or whatever, if we can find a story that matches it, we can typically find a way to move those allergies out of the body. So I was just reading about a patient who had really serious sun allergy, and it started when her mother was dying of complications with rheumatoid arthritis. And she loved her mother very much, but it was so hard to see her mother in so much pain. From the time she was a baby, it was like incredibly painful if she were to even touch her mother, or for her to try and walk or lift anything. And it was a huge subconscious challenge for her because she didn't realize how deeply she was affected by the suffering of her mother. And she would go and visit her mother whenever she had like spring breaks and things when she was going to school. And then after she got married, sometimes it was more difficult. And instead of visiting her mother one year, she went to the beach. And her mother died that year. And that's when her sun allergies started. So by helping her to get in touch with how very much she loved her mother, and that the sun was a reminder of the pain that her mother was going through, and to honor her mother, within a few months, her sun allergy was completely gone. She had had big red splotches on her face and on her hands. She was a lawyer. She finally got to the place where she just said, I'm just going to have to work this way. And all of it went away by getting in touch with her love for her mother and the great suffering that she wasn't even aware of. She cried like a baby when she got in touch with how much pain there was that she had suppressed for so many years about her mother's suffering. So by doing these kinds of releases, it can be really profound. And I have the book, the Recall Healing book, that goes through all the different diseases and different practices that you can do to help release any disease. So it's really deep research. If you take a look at the YouTubes by Dr. Massey, my beloved, that are on our website, you'll get a sense of how profound this is. And if you find that doing sessions is out of your realm of financial capability, you can always buy the books and work with them yourselves. And we have very explicit instructions on how to um, do all of this. And I have like 20 of the books in stock right now. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to share with you, other than to wish you the most beautiful holiday season. We're getting ready to go to the Yucatan and spend as much time in the sun and snorkeling as we possibly can, eating fresh fish right off the boat, and hopefully coming back with a whole new level of deuterium depletion and health and well-being to share with you and share the experience. So blessings to you all. Find a way to get out in the sun. Look at breathing through your nose, not your mouth. And the ducks are saying goodbye as well. Enjoy your holiday.